Hello, and welcome back to Seawolf's Den. This is Crafting Ron. Going through my design process for this mini rig, the CAP-2 Captivator. I'm using this 40K bit to design a new canopy for it. Of course, it didn't come with one. And so as I try to fit it, I want to add a window or something to it to cover that gap. There it is right there. And I'm going through different possibilities. Went through my box of many things and found some plastic bits. I might have been able to Dremel into that shape, but I don't think my dremeling skills are that good. I also found some packaging in there. I just didn't have enough of it to really feel comfortable using it. So I went with a Coke bottle. I think I can cut a piece out of this and definitely make a good canopy. So here I am using a utility knife to cut the Coke bottle, into a decent piece of plastic I can use for the canopy. Just cut around the edges along the tapered end because I think that'll fit better in the piece, and use scissors to trim it. I'll probably do a lot more of this later when I finally get the piece together and have a place where I can put a canopy, but I'm going to get this ready and prep it for the canopy. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the actual canopy and see if I can make it open, since it's missing all the pieces to do that. Got a little bracket there that I could hook something up to it and maybe glue to the canopy piece I'm using. So I decided to look into maybe using this paper clip. I've used these before in other things, and this can clip inside there if it was small enough, and it did. It fit really well. So it'll act like a support hinge for my canopy. I just have to bend it a little bit, and I think it will fit perfectly. This also has this engine sticker on the bottom. Once I take that off, I'm thinking about drilling it out and putting a light. I also have this platform that I need to glue inside so a miniature can stand. I'm going to use a sprue, an old model sprue, and cut a couple of T-shaped pieces out to use as a stand. I might use one or the other depending on what works best, but I'm going to have two just in case. Not entirely sure what glue I'm going to use. It's going to be either E6000 or maybe Gorilla Glue or Super Glue. I don't know. Forceps. Somebody gave me a bunch of forceps, and I found those easy to use for tight jobs like this, and that's what I'm going to use to place the T's when it's ready. This is about when I decided this is ready to start working, so I went ahead and washed it. Used Goo Gone and got rid of the stickers. All right, it's still kind of drying after being washed. So I'm going to kind of just plan out my next steps on another part that I want. Now, these had suction cups on them, and I didn't like that. It had this one, I only had one that come with it, and I didn't like that idea. So I took that off, and I'm looking for ways to take these 40K bits, landing gear, and fasten them to these holes. I don't want to cut those out. I mean, the easiest thing I could do really is cut those out and just glue it in there. But I'm kind of taking to the next level, I think. Oh no, maybe not. Because these turn, so these might be useful. So I'm thinking about taking a sprue. Hopefully I can, yeah, it'll fit. I'll cut it and then glue them to the landing gear to the sprue. Maybe a flat one. Those were rounded. Maybe a flat one would be better, but it'll end up being two side by side and maybe make it more stable like that. So We'll see. That's the other design thing I want to do with it. Give it some landing gear, maybe put a light. Finally got the sticker off there. Put a light down at the bottom, put a platform on there, get the canopy done. This is that silly claw thing I was talking about. I'm not really sure. I mean, that's why I want to kind of just make it a mining ship this way. You know, in the back, it'll dig out. You know, it's digging, processes the stuff, drops out the ore. The bottom, these will turn maybe to help dig out the ore. The only thing I can't justify, and I'm just going to say because it's cool, is, you know, placing the guns here. These could be drilling guns or protective guns fighting against pirates. I don't know. It's going to be an armed mining ship or mining utility ship. So I've got pieces to build on that. I got these side cannons that I'm going to mount here. If I can get them to stay straight. May pin those. I don't know. I've dremeled them enough so that it should fit. Maybe mount some other things, but it's a lot of little things that I'm going to try to add on to it. All these little bits make it a heavily armed. I got some other things that'll just add more detail to it. Here's the platform. There's more bits. We'll see how it goes. Making progress. I'm hoping to really start assembling this thing really soon. This was almost a crafting disaster, but got it to work to some degree. And if we look at it, I had to do a lot of widget work. I got a screw in there holding in the clip through the bottom. I tried hot glue and there's still a mess in there, but I'll paint over that, probably put something in there or over it. And it snaps in nicely once you get it in there. The plastic I cut is currently being held in by double-sided tape. Mental note, whenever you put something clear down on the table, make sure you remember where you put it because it's clear. It's hard to find. I'm probably just going to glue it to the main body rather than the top, which is what my original plan was. But it's tricky to get the canopy down, but I like the snap of it, so I'll leave it a little off so it stays snug. The canopy finally working 3 clips later. I had to actually, this is one of the leftovers, but I actually had to bend that eye so it was a little taller so that I had a little more play to open and close. So they don't bend easy by design, but for that purpose. So what I want to do with these landing gear is, so I got 2 landing gear right there. There's the landing gear. What I want to do with these landing gear, with the sprue that I've stripped and it's gotten decent, I need a small hole to hold that, just slightly. I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but I want to have a hole because eventually I want to stick it through here, stick it through there, and have one on each side. I'll cut it so I can have one on each side, on both sides. So I got 4. So let me see if I can drill the hole with a hand drill and maybe make it work. Okay, day 2 of working on this thing. I spent a lot of time modifying the canopy, adding some bits. Yeah, that's a missile launcher, but I can make something up. Maybe a means to send charges inside a mining vein. That's kind of the theme I'm going with. Is definitely going to do a mining theme. There's, I got some lights. Unfortunately, I only had a left side light, and so they're both left side lights, or right side, however you want to look at it. So that's how that has evolved. Got the screw covered up. This side, yeah, I'll have to come up with something for that. The big thing I worked on, which was kind of an intricate work and probably just too boring to cover, is in video. I have a few pictures of what I did. Is the landing, or the feet, or the landing gear, or whatever you want to call it. Took me a lot of kind of trial and error, and which is why it's just not good to video. I tried like 2 different ways of doing this, and finally, I know that the industry, or the hobbyists, call it pinning. My dad called it the hot pin trick when we were working with plastic models. And so I hot pinned it to a sprue that fit pretty snugly inside the hole that was there. And now they fit fine and it stands great. So that has been done. I plan to do a couple of things on the side, on the front. I got to Dremel or cut this so this fits better in here. It's really close. So that'll be on the front. This will be in the front. Oh, I mentioned something about lights, because this was going to light up. Realized, the lights I had wouldn't fit down in there. And the ones that could, there's no way to really turn them on. That's always a struggle. So what I might do is, I got these, I don't even know what my kids call them. I have a ton of these. Squinky bubbles. That's what they're called. I use them a lot because they're great bubbles, but look how easy that fits on there. I'm going to put that on there, paint it up kind of fiery swirly with but not until I spray paint, but that fits perfectly. So we're going to use that. And I'm going to get a few more bits on there. I know that the 40K fans are like, they don't belong on there. That's a this, that's a that. I don't even know what they are because I don't play, but you give me your bits, I'm going to use it for something. So that's really good progress. I'm getting close to the end. I'll do another video after I get all these bits on there. We'll get the canopy back on there. We'll get the glass, plastic on there afterwards, after I paint it, because that's the last thing I do is paint it up. I mean, after I paint it, is put it together. Now, I don't know what kind of paint scheme. I usually start with gray and then just kind of enhance it with some gray, more darker gray. But I feel like maybe we can do something different with this one. I don't know. I'll have to come up with something. Maybe look around for some inspiration. I have a hard time figuring out what to paint things like this. There we go. There we go. See, that looks pretty cool. To be continued. As you can see, I got the platform in there. Okay. All right, day 3 of my CAP-2 mini rig craft. I kind of went crazy on it last night. I added some bits and it started going down to kind of a steampunk look to it. But I didn't want to go too extreme, because sometimes steampunk can get ridiculous. I like, kind of the aesthetic. Even added some control panel bits in there and a little back to it that I know belongs in a cockpit, but I think it looks kind of cool. All kinds of bits, guns. Oops, this one got moved. Yeah, I would just glued those. Got one on each side. Kind of think that looks cool. I feel like, I added these just because I could, and they kind of bring in the 28mm scale with the rivets and other parts. So then it kind of really begins to look like kind of a working mecha. And that's really what I was going for, is kind of like I said, a mining mecha with a kick. It's just yet one of my bit bins that I bought, and I did not know I had this one, and it had, wow, look at that one. I would almost put this on here if I could find a place. kind of like that. I kind of like that. And this is the kind of process I go with. That on the front. All right. All right, we're going to, on the fly, add a bit. I thought I was done, but I keep going through my bits, and, you know, this is how I run out. As I like, I like certain bits here and there. You may notice that my voice is a little stuffy, and it's related to why I'm using Gorilla Clear Grip. I like it a lot. I used super glue for some of these other parts to put together the canopy and stuff like that, or Loctite super glue right here. And this stuff causes me to have allergies. I have an allergic reaction every time I use super glue. So I try to use it as little as possible, and this Gorilla Glue really works well for me. E6000 works for me too, but I have some of that too. But this was sitting next to the E6000, kind of like, you know, if you like E6000, try this. And this has a stronger bond immediately. It is as messy, I have to admit. All right, we're gonna let that sit. I kind of like that. That's got a, I've been wanting to kind of add more to it. But anyway, I just feel like adding some bits, some of them are unnecessary bits, like like this and that. Like I said, gives a sense of scale. Once I get the canopy back on, and I did finally find a piece to cover up the screw. And I'm thinking about doing like a tan, like a dirty tan color. I think this is going to look good. Once I get it all together, I'm going to prime it with some black. All right, that's going to sit. I'm going to let that dry. But that's it. That's all the bits. I put a bunch. There's kind of an engine looking thing. I don't know. I just can picture this thing digging ore. Those little gravity things here. They go into the processor, and this is the processor, and here are the access panels for that processor if it needs, and maybe that's the engine for the processor. It goes down in here, and I'll have this thing all fiery and red, and we'll paint that up. I wish I could put a light in it, but it's just not going to happen. And that's where it kind of gets smelted, and eventually either, you know, you can see it coming out of there, or coming, you know, it comes out the bottom and into a mining car or something like that. Anyway, that's the way I'm picturing it. And then maybe they mine in dangerous places like an asteroid. And so the asteroids are rampant with pirates, so they have to have weapons. These might be the weapons, but this might be a cutting laser. I always add a story to it. So anyway, almost done. Got to paint it, detail it. Hope you like it. Okay, day 4. Primed it. Put it together. The glass is being held in with double-sided tape right now. And I really, really like the look of this. I think this is exactly the look I'm looking for in this particular piece. Again, for what? I don't know. I don't necessarily have a plan for it, but I think, you know, that I could throw this down as a utility mecha that maybe the players use against a big bad. I may do a video on the bad guys I've introduced in one of my convention campaigns based on the Final Faction toys that I've mentioned before. I still have to put this on. I can't forget that. But the Final Faction has a large action figures in their line, and I use them to scale as giant bad guys, and so sometimes players will have to jump into a mecha to beat them, and that might be a good idea to do. Yeah. Now, admittedly, it says Squinkies there, but I'm hoping paint will cover that up. I appreciate everybody's patience and me doing this. I'm just kind of learning as I go along, so don't think I'm some kind of pro. This is my first really long-term video doing this, and I know there are times where I have the wrong angle. I've been trying out different angles on this, and I can't always have a clear view of what I'm working on because my hand gets in the way, and I'm still trying to work that out. And I get it. I'm not overly pleased with my first attempt, and Everybody goes through cringy moments with their first attempt at these things. Hopefully I'll get more into it. This one turned out to be, that piece I put on last time turned out to be a disaster, and I had to use super glue to do it. Even after all my work with, I'm praising of Gorilla Glue, it just, because of the curvature of the mecha, that it just didn't want to stay. So I had to make it. But I'm glad, I'm very happy with the overall, it was the cheap Lowe's paint, or like I said, I'm going to get some tan. I did put a little mini in there, and I did find a design flaw in that. You got to put them on the side, because that thing will bump them in the head, but you can see them sort of. You can see a dude in there. I'm real happy with it. Okay, I made a mistake and glued this on too early, so I painted the inside fiery red and yellow and all these colors here. Canary yellow, crimson, pumpkin orange, and a little flamenco red. I don't know what that is. My main base coat is going to be territorial beige. I've already started it kind of. Alrighty. Spent the last several days painting this, detailing it, washing it with my own homemade wash, which is black paint and water, so it's not like anything special. And further detailing it, correcting mistakes. Going back and forth. There's a mistake already. There's several points I want to go back and fix. As I look at it, I still see places I want to fix. But it's good enough for me. I think it's table ready as far as I'm concerned. So here it is. My mining mecha. Still haven't come up with a name with it. Ironically, the paint scheme I went with, and it just kind of organically developed. The main, like I said earlier, the main paint was terrestrial beige, but then I decided, well, I'm going to paint this cone a little different. This part of it, a darker brown. So I went with chocolate sprinkles, and then dry brushed it with nutmeg brown, and then other parts of the superstructure, if you will, I used like on these, I used something called classic caramel. On this, I used classic caramel, and some of the raised parts I did classic caramel, and it's very subtle difference. You really can't tell once I did the ink, but if you look real close, you can tell there's a slight shade difference. So there's like a candy theme to it. Not going to call it Candyman, but there it is. Table ready, I think. Some kind of mecha, and we can throw characters in. I even kind of detailed the inside, which you can't see, but I detailed a little bit of the inside. That's it. My first craft video. It took forever to make. Almost 5 or 6 days total. This is kind of a new experience for me. I'm pretty good at the editing part. Not good at the speaking. I know I'm not exciting, but at least you kind of see the mind of design and development process, which may not be a process. It may be just chaos, but I am pretty happy with the end result. So on to the next project. So until next time,
always seek the wolf in thyself.